Hello, my name is Angela Even, and I will be discussing e-leadership, facilitating positive outcomes in teleworkers through effective leadership. My dissertation chair is Dr. Mary Jo Anderson. Dr. Anderson has been an amazing mentor. Publius Syrus is quoted as saying, "Anyone can hold the helm when the sea is calm." A great leader can work effectively during times of uncertainty. Treating each employee individually and inspiring a vision for the future requires a skilled leader. The digital age has changed the way leaders interact with their followers, creating a new leadership technique, or e-leadership. E-leadership is not the same as traditional leadership and requires a modification to the existing leadership skill set. Most recently, telework has proven valuable in a crisis, as many businesses were able to keep employees working during the COVID-19 pandemic. With the increase in telework and the increase in employees that desire the arrangement, this research has value and significance to leaders, teleworkers, educators, practitioners, and organizations. The best e-leadership style for producing positive work outcomes in telework employees must be identified. The purpose of this research is to identify the best leadership styles for producing positive work outcomes in teleworkers. The CIMO framework was used to establish the research question. The question guiding this research is, what are the most effective leadership styles for e-leaders to facilitate positive work outcomes in telework employees? The scoping literature review covered many topics. They ranged from telework history to telework and communication. A relationship-based approach based on the contingency theory, and more specifically the leader-member exchange theory and the social exchange theory, was utilized. This represents my modified and revised conceptual model. Leaders and teleworkers enter the arrangement with needs, beliefs, and feelings. The leader and the member interact in the leader-member exchange. They either have high-quality interactions or low-quality interactions. The high-quality interactions produce communication, trust, and respect. This communication, trust, and respect then can be seen in the balanced scorecard that is developed in the social exchange theory, where the benefits minus the costs equal the outcome. High-quality relationships yield positive work outcomes. These positive work outcomes are increased organizational commitment, increased job performance, and increased job satisfaction. The method of inquiry is a qualitative systematic literature review. Articles were identified using a library data search, and the articles were stored in Mendeley. The articles were assessed using an inclusion-exclusion criteria and the Mixed Methods Appraisal Tool, or the MMAT. Data was extracted from each article to prepare a list of structured codes with an emergent coding process. Articles were coded using 2 cycles of coding via vivo and the list of the structured codes. This slide represents the search string that I used. This search string was reviewed and edited by the reference and instruction librarian at the UMGC library. From the search, 356 total articles were identified. 178 abstracts were screened. 56 full-text articles were screened. 42 articles were assessed by using the MMAT, and 37 articles were included after quality appraisal. 2 subject matter experts were identified. Both have many years as teleworkers and as leaders. The subject matter experts were contacted regularly via email and telephone. They were included in each phase of the dissertation process. They approved the revised conceptual model, the recommendations, and the e-leadership checklist. The 37 articles that were included in the final systematic review were subject to data extraction. The data was extracted from each of these articles and recorded in a chart form like the one shown here. There were 16 structured codes used. Those are shown in this table. This table represents code frequency. For example, communication was represented in 25 different articles, and trust in 15, transformational in 11. To review, emergent coding was done from the data extraction. Structured codes were then set as preset codes. In vivo coding was done during the coding process, and thematic coding was done to develop themes. All of the codes were arranged in their thematic categories. 4 themes were identified. These themes are e-leadership, characteristics and behaviors, outcomes, and transformational leadership. These themes are created with the intent of answering the research question and producing leadership implications and recommendations that address the management problem. Leadership implications were established. The first one is technology. Information communication technology, or ICT, is communication that is assisted by technology. Examples of ICTs are telephone, internet, Wi-Fi, email, and Zoom. Communication between teleworkers and leaders is accomplished by using ICTs. Therefore, it is vital that everyone is trained on the proper use of technology, that they have the appropriate technology, and that proper technologies are chosen. Next is self-leadership. Telework employees trained in autonomy and self-advocacy techniques can make self-leadership a reality. Leaders can encourage and train telework employees to self-lead. This includes encouraging and rewarding autonomy. Diversity is the makeup of your organizational workforce, and inclusion is whether the organization lets diversity thrive. E-leaders must also remain culturally sensitive and pay attention to how differences may affect the telework arrangement. Promoting trust and respect is vital. Trust building exercises can be implemented. Trust creation requires time and continuing effort. Leaders must be encouraged to communicate frequently and with a plan. E-leaders should be trained in effective communication as well as communication via ICT. Communication builds trust and avoids misunderstandings. The final leadership implication is transformational leadership. Transformational leaders act for the good of the organization. Transformational leaders should inspire a vision for the future. This requires that leaders treat employees as individuals. The following are recommendations that were established from the leadership implications. Establish a communication plan that includes a vision, mission, and goals, also dates to meet and how the team will meet. Face-to-face communication via ICT and in-person activities must be used to prevent isolation and encourage feelings of support. Establish and encourage systematic training of leaders in communication, diversity, trust building, self-leadership, and transformational leadership techniques. Carefully select information communication technologies that work best for the organization and ensure that the entire organization is appropriately trained. Utilize trust-building activities like icebreakers and online games and tournaments. Encourage diversity through education and training. If diversity is present, identify areas for inclusion. Encourage and reward autonomy and self-advocacy. This leads to self-leadership. Help teleworkers set goals and set limits. Encourage the use of relationship-based behaviors and specifically transformational leadership. Find opportunities to learn more about transformational leadership techniques. Create an e-leadership plan. Include personal goals and a plan for attaining them. Utilize the revised conceptual model and the e-leadership checklist as a tool for creating, maintaining, and assessing your e-leadership plan. This is the e-leadership effectiveness checklist. The e-leadership effectiveness checklist was designed as an easy tool for leaders to use to identify areas of weakness. This was created based on the findings of this research. I mentioned using an e-leadership plan. This e-leadership plan is an example plan that I developed that uses SMART goals. This study is not without its limitations. There were very few databases used. The systematic literature review was done very quickly and lacks depth. Only 37 articles were used. The MMAT focused only on quality, and a second tool could have been used to assess other areas. There was one researcher with possible bias, and the conceptual framework and checklist designed are untested. For areas for future research, there may be a difference between a leader that is also a teleworker and a leader that is on site. Could a leader that is a teleworker be better able to understand and build relationships with telework followers? Also, the frequency of telework should be examined. And finally, exploring which ICTs is best in each situation could add value to the topic. In conclusion, the best leadership style for facilitating positive work outcomes in teleworkers is a relationship-centered approach, and specifically transformational leadership. Transformational leadership that focuses on communication, trust, diversity management, self-leadership, and continuous systematic training of e-leaders is the best leadership style for producing job performance, job satisfaction, and organizational commitment in telework employees. Feel free to contact me at the email address below with any questions.